So I mean, like, how would that kind of like applicably like think about like your ideal future? Like, what would that look like? And also, how attached is that like to money?
Yeah, that's that's a big part of it. I think that there's always the question of being financially stable versus financially lucrative. And for me, being financially lucrative is a very hard to get around measure of success. I do, and I hate this about myself, but I do feel like if I turned 50 and didn't have any savings and wasn't making very much money to speak of, I would fear that I'd feel like a failure. So I feel like there is a huge element, despite me not wanting there to be, of needing money to show your income and measure success. But like I said, the more wholesome, maybe realistic part of me understands that if I was broke at 50, but I had a very fulfilling life and I had a lot of friends around me, then I think that I would feel just as successful, maybe in a different way. Okay,
cool. So definitely seems like, just to kind of summarize what you said, for me, I mean, it sounds like there's like money. Money is gonna have to be like a necessity no matter what, but like really like defining like what a good life is and what success like would be for you is like something that's more expansive, like having good connections, knowing a lot of people, being able to do what you like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about I think success is about the relationships you have with people in a huge way. What's really, really important to me, especially looking down the pipeline of my life, is having good friends and maintaining relationships with people over long distances and times. But also what's really important to me is completing things. That I really, really enjoy the feeling of completing a project or finishing a song or finishing a paper that I think is good. I think that the more opportunities I can walk away from a challenge feeling like I got something out of it, then the better I'm going to feel in the long run and the more successful I'll feel.
Cool. Like, can you describe someone you know personally that is successful and then you kind of feel like maybe he comes to this definition and then kind of lives it out a little bit? I
don't know. My dad jumps to mind. He's, in some ways more than others, he's not making a killing where he's working right now, but he's making enough to support, 4 kids and a family, and they can, afford nice things. He doesn't have, like, the social network of friends that I would like to have when I'm his age, which is a little bit scary. But he still seems, and I think what I admire most about my dad is that he has the ability to, really get to the meat of a problem and really help with it. Like, as a science teacher, he can really change the way kids look at science, and he can start a project that has a definable goal and complete it. And he's just always trying new things incrementally, accomplishing tasks. So you end up with a repertoire that's not as easy to write on a resume, but something that's that's all right.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, generally, what do you think your dad did to get in this position that he's in today? I mean, employment-wise, but also just going out there and helping people.
I think I don't know. It's kind of funny. I don't say this a lot, but both my grandfather and my father have talked to me independently about moments in their life when they, quote, realized they could do it. Where there was a breakthrough point. My granddad said when he was in 10th grade, he was like, man, I'm struggling in school, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And there was a moment where he was like, oh, this is how it works, here I go.
Yeah.
And my dad said when he was in college, there was a moment where he just started doing it. And that's a philosophy that I very much try to adopt myself. The inability to take action on a project, no matter how daunting it is, just starting, I think, speaks for a lot of it. And the ability to, whether it's a tricky math problem or trying to coordinate some massive event, starting it, and then obviously the classic poster on the wall, persevering through it, I think, which is the easier half of it.
Yeah. How much do you feel like hard work is just like a part of success?
Sometimes. Most of the time. I'd say for like the average human, basically all of the time. But I do see a lot of people out there, at least I feel like I see people out there who can be pretty goddamn successful by some metric with less effort. You know, like there's scientists who toil away their entire life trying to figure out a question and never do it. And then there's like some businessmen who, I don't know, this is very cliquey, but some people who phone it in their whole life and walk away with millions and millions of dollars with what I would consider comparatively less strife.
Yeah. So you think that like the less strife, what is that? Like how does that kind of play into it? And just like allow someone to like not do as much and like come away with more money. Like how does that kind of function?
Well, I mean, I think, once again, I'll split this into like my cynic answer and my wholesome answer. My wholesome answer is some people are passionate about different things, and if you're genuinely passionate about being a big Wall Street executive, then you're going to have the drive to do that, and eventually it'll pay off, and it just so happens that the payoff of that passion is tons of money. My cynic answer is there's a completely out-of-whack system that will disproportionately favor some people, largely by luck, but also partially by virtue of the system we live in, to where you can kind of cop out and do well for yourself, but do well for yourself relatively less work, or especially if you're given a leg up at the start. If you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you're probably going to walk away with a lot more money than if you're scratching your way to the top. And so that's kind of
interesting. Okay, cool. It's like, what do people need to do in order to become successful in the U.S.? If you could kind of just like give your take on like maybe characteristics of success, do you think there's like a universal path and like actions that people can commit themselves to, and like this can be something that is attainable?
Totally. I think that you need to want and set a realistic goal. If you want to live in a tiny shack, then let that be your goal and start working towards it. Once you've found that realistic goal, I think that you need an education. Like anybody in America, whether it's a vocation or you don't really care about your job and all you need is a diploma, the most important thing is being able to get certified in some way and proving that you can do X or Y. And then from there, I guess it's relative to the person, obviously, because sometimes going to vocational school is going to be a much greater triumph for someone than it would be for, say, me to get a bachelor's degree. It's relative. So like the hard work also is relative. Like somebody can really bust their ass to get a mechanic's certification or whatever, and I might somebody might glide through an English degree without too much struggle. So that's not necessarily the defining characteristic, but I think you need to want it, and I think you need to I don't know, talk about it, meet people about it. I don't know. I guess it sort of leads you to the question of if you. So many people say I don't know, I don't have anything I'm passionate about. I don't have a major interest, and I think that's kind of confusing to me, because if you don't have at least one thing where you're damn, that's awesome, I want to do it, even if it's unrealistic, then I don't know how you'd make it, but you definitely have to, have some idea of what you love.
Totally. Whoa. Okay, so how much do you feel that someone's economic, their social success, this intrinsic success, how much does that do to individual effort?
Somewhat, but definitely not all of it. I think that, once again, if you're born in the middle of LA with no money, you can bust your ass, and your odds are stacked against you for becoming the world's next